Hey everyone, welcome to the Slice of Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Jeff Saul from Built. Jeff, how's it going?
Going well, Jared. Thank you for having me.
Excited to have you here. We'll start out with my go-to question, and then feel free to add some additional context to your background when I ask this. But first question is always: you're walking down the street in a Built sweatshirt. Someone comes up to you and says, "What does Built do?" What do you tell them?
It's nice because I actually do have a Built sweatshirt, so this is perfect question. Jared, honestly, Built is very easy to describe pretty succinctly. In simplest terms, Built digitizes the process of getting a construction loan, makes that process much more efficient. So if you've ever had a home built, whether on the residential side or you've built commercial property, uh, either as just an owner or you're a developer doing it for investment, that process of going and getting financing from a bank can be extremely inefficient, extremely painful, often manual. You're trading emails, phone calls, you request funds, you wait 2 weeks to get your money. Built's digitizing that whole thing through kind of an online banking feel, where you do it all online. You get paid often instantly or next day, really revolutionizing that process of digitizing getting a construction loan.
And talk me through a little bit about how things were done before Built, and why this is so necessary.
Yeah, and if for anyone who has gotten a construction loan, building a home, or otherwise, you're calling a bank, or maybe you're applying online, but then your experience is largely happening through emails, through phone calls. There's a lot of paperwork that gets traded back and forth. It's a highly manual process, and it takes often weeks just to kind of secure the information you need to get the loan. Much less when you're going through the process. There's usually a lot of different points in that process where you're saying, hey, I've done 25% of the build. I'm ready for, this portion of the funds. And then that can often be, again, a weeks long process where you're trading phone calls and emails. So just a very manual process today, Jared.
What excites you the most about what you do every single day when you get up? Like, if you had to pick a particular part of your day to day, what part of that do you like the most?
Yeah, I'd say for me, in the role that I play at Built, I lead our non-bank or kind of private lender segment within our lending business. And so anything that we do for those customers, I kind of have my hand in, whether that's building product or figuring out kind of how to connect with our customers more effectively. And I think the thing for me that's the most exciting is I get out of bed knowing that I'm going to go to work and build products that really make a difference for people. And I know, relative to a lot of the problems in the world, maybe digitizing and making certain aspects of finance more efficient might not be as, I don't know, as sexy as curing world hunger or whatever it may be, but certainly we have a lot of customer testimonials who just really speak to the idea of, hey, my job was really hard before and you've made it much, much easier for me. I enjoy getting out of bed and going to work every day because of this. And so that's really the thing that kind of, I think, excites me the most and is the most gratifying for me.
So we're already more than halfway through 2024. What are some of the areas that are on your radar for, let's call it, the second half of 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, we're busy. So we're building a lot of things right now. We are in the process of rolling out a new version of our products for commercial real estate, and so that's for lenders, for owners, and again, making that process of connecting lenders and owners and making the debt financing process much more effective and efficient. We're also finally, for the first time, this has been kind of a long-standing vision of Built's, but the idea of getting all the different stakeholders in these construction projects in one platform working together digitally. So you're talking about your contractors, the owners, of course, your lenders. We've just kind of secured kind of our first deal where we had literally all of those stakeholders working together. So we're providing software for each one of them and they're interacting directly through the platform, as well as kind of sending payments through the platform. So, contractor ultimately needs to get paid. That's coming from the owner, but first coming from the lenders. So the lenders releasing money to the owner, releasing money to the contractors, and so forth. And we refer to that often as kind of connecting the chain on these projects. We're really seeing that vision happen this year, which has been awesome. I know for Chase Gilbert, the founder, and others, it's been a 10-year journey, and that's kind of culminating now. So I'd say our new commercial real estate products. And again, that connection of all the stakeholders on construction deals are probably the things that are most exciting for me this year.
Now, one of the things we like to focus in on are current challenges that still exist in the space. So, are there any regulations? Are there any processes that still need refining that are on your radar?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges, and again, I'll speak specifically to commercial real estate because again, we offer products, commercial, residential, but I spend a lot more time on the commercial side. One of the biggest challenges is with data, right? So we still, our customers, our lenders and owners still really struggle with handling information about their investments. They're still working heavily in spreadsheets. Our platform seeks to really solve that problem, and we've made a lot of headway, but I think there's still a long way to go before customers are kind of managing data the way that we would expect, where you have a question like, hey, WeWork or Bed Bath and Beyond just went bankrupt. I want to instantly, in a single click, assess my entire portfolio exposure. That's something that we can do, but it takes a lot of time working with our customers to get there. So I think just making strides in the way that we're kind of managing information as an industry in commercial real estate, I think is still something we're in the early innings of. Like to think we're helping lead that, but still a long way to go in that effort.
Are there any in the kind of second half of the year? Are there any events that are on your radar? I mean, how important are certain events to meeting people in the space for you? I always like to ask that.
Yeah, I mean, conferences are really important. I would say from a marketing perspective, getting out and meeting people at a conference is probably one of the best tools that we have in our toolkit. And not just conferences, we also have several events that we sponsor, but one in particular that has been particularly successful for us. We call it the Seller, the Deal Seller. It's an event where we invite a lot of customers into a kind of a more intimate setting. So we might have 50, 100 people, but it's not a conference setting where you're weeding through thousands of people. And so it's existing customers as well as folks that we're just getting to know. And we typically do it in a different setting, like a wine venue. We do it at Vintners in New York is a place we've hosted several of these. Just did one in Chicago. I think we have at least one, I believe maybe two more of those planned for the back half of this year. So excited about those events. And then several conferences. I know we have CRETEC in October. We've already knocked out both the CREFC conferences, but I'd say those are probably the big ones that I'm looking forward to.
I'm really excited. This is going to be my first year going to the Blueprint conference for prop tech and the built world out in Vegas. So I'm excited to see how that goes. There should be a lot of cool companies there as well, that many of which that we've interviewed. So we're definitely interested in that. What's do you have like any concerns towards this? Doesn't have to be related to the business, just for the industry that you really want to see addressed, that doesn't necessarily affect any products or offerings that Built's putting out, but just in commercial real estate in general? Like, what concerns do you have today?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on kind of what side you're on, I mean, in the sense of problems becoming opportunities, there's a lot of problems right now in commercial real estate, a lot of distress. And there's issues on the residential side as well. But I think commercial real estate in particular is very interesting to me right now because you have a few big dynamics that are coming in to kind of drive distress that we haven't seen in 15 years, right? So we've got the advent of remote working, which is wreaking havoc on the office market. I'm probably not giving you news here. However, a lot of people don't know we're 20% vacant nationally now in the commercial real estate markets, which, that's bad just even in one market. But when you've got that at the national level, it's really a crisis in terms of office properties that are not occupied. A lot of large owners who are looking at significant markdowns and valuations on their books, and distress when those loans are coming due in terms of maturity. Also, you've got rates, which have posed a huge challenge, not just in commercial, also in the residential side, but in commercial in particular. You're coming in an era where often properties were valued at, when cap rates were 3 or 4%, now they're 6-7%. It very quickly you can do that math and determine that if you got a 75% leveraged loan, that loan is underwater, and there are a lot of those. And so I think everyone's kind of waiting to seeing what happens with rates. Obviously, what happens over the next couple quarters will materially impact, how bad that is. But in terms of the way you address the question, which I liked, of like really what are the problems that you think that there's a creative solution that you'd like to see employed, I'm really interested in the office segment to see what happens to this space, because I think you've got a lot of opinions around how will office continue to bounce back? Like, will we see a healthy office market resume without a lot of kind of the adaptive reuse that you might expect to take place? Or is the challenge going to be to find ways to reuse this space, whether it's residential, whether it's other kind of creative uses like different event spaces, or data center is obviously a huge one with the advent of AI and the energy consumption needs there. So I'm really interested to see how the office segment or sector, I should say, really transforms, particularly with an eye towards remote work as well. Like, co-working is a space that I think is just still in its infancy. I think, as we kind of see these new hybrid remote work models, people are, the data out there is showing you that people don't love working from home. They also don't really love working in the office. And so what is this kind of third space alternative that's going to emerge? Really interested to see some interesting companies in that space continue to flourish.
Yeah, I think um, it's pretty interesting, the co-working model. I've been in an industrious for like basically off and on for the last several years, and whether it was in Boston or now down here, and the experience has just been incredible. And to your point, the ability to work from home a few days a week, but then also have that option if you want to get away, if you want to get away from your family for a little bit, or you just want a focused place that you can go and get some stuff done outside of your home, right? It was like during the they always said though too, like there's a time and place for remote work, but you had people that were maybe working out of their bedroom, and
Mm-hmm.
they say that in some cases you're supposed to separate, at least have those times that you can go to a cafe or go to a co-working space. So it'll be interesting to see how things continue to progress. But when you look at a lot of cities, it seems like there's only one or two co-working spaces in the hotel, like, so that's for everyone that's working remote. So I think we'll see continuous like new models there as well, but I think it remains to be seen what that will exactly look like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right, Jared. And Industrious, I'm glad you mentioned. I mean, they're definitely a leader in the space, and particularly in the wake of WeWork and what happened there, it's going to be really interesting to see how they and other leaders kind of capitalize on opportunities now.
Yeah, it's but I mean also the Industriouses of this world and the WeWorks, a big portion of their revenue were the large corporations that would take up host suites, and that would basically fund any of the vacancies that they had for the smaller companies, right? And I don't see as much of that anymore, because now if that was going to be that large company's whole office, so it is interesting to see how did what they're doing now is they're essentially saying it's not going to be a suite for a lot of these places. It's going to be more single spots for a lot of different other companies. So
Yeah.
um, I still think there'll be some maybe turmoil in that co-working space. I think Industrious is well positioned. WeWork has a shot to bounce back, right? But we'll end up seeing what happens.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Jared, and I know we'll move on, but just on that last point, it's interesting because on the one hand, generally corporations are occupying less space, and so to your point, the same corporation that might have taken 80,000 square feet, apologies, 80,000 square feet is now taking 60,000 square feet. So from that perspective, you're right. I think you're going to see those footprints shrink. On the other hand, I think corporations are embracing more of a hybrid remote model. And so they are probably, I would guess, as a portion of their total footprint, going to be leasing more through like a co-working model than they would be necessarily through kind of a direct model going forward, just given, what it affords their employees. And so it'd be interesting to see how those things balance out in terms of like the net demand from B2B, as you sort of pointed to, because that's a huge part of the demand, as you mentioned.
Jeff, what's next for Built? Again, as we look towards the second half of the year, that you can share with us here today.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the biggest things we just recently launched in the last, I think we had not announced it 2 weeks ago, kind of the debut of our replatformed commercial real estate product. And what that is in a nutshell, is a kind of comprehensive software suite for commercial real estate lenders that covers Built's kind of flagship construction lending product that we talked about, as well as a product for asset and portfolio management, which, put simply, I'm a lender, I go out and make loans. I then have a portfolio of loans that requires asset management. So managing each of those positions as well as managing the overall portfolio. And so this is software that helps make that process far more efficient. And they're fully integrated. So if you've got a portfolio of 100 loans as a lender, 50 are construction, 50 are not, maybe they're stabilized. You're doing all of this in Built. So you're managing your construction projects, clicking over, managing your entire portfolio, running different analytics, reporting, all of those things. So really excited. Definitely a game changer in the commercial real estate space relative to anything we've done before and relative to anything we've seen done in the market. And then more broadly, I think what we're doing right now in the owner contractor side of things, if I failed to mention it up front, Built really serves kind of three primary cohorts: lenders, residential and commercial, owners across the same, and then contractors. On the owner contractor side, touched on it a little bit earlier with kind of the connection of the chain, everyone working in a common interface, being able to pass payment waterfalls all the way through, dramatically cutting down on sort of the turnaround time on those payments. We're really starting to unleash that this year. And we've got some interesting things in the works as well with lenders on the payments front, which I won't fully discuss, but I think will be a fun surprise as well. And so just really starting to integrate all of those stakeholders in one common place. Our owner product, which we announced last year, plays a big role in this, FPM. So just really excited to see what we're doing with owners and contractors and bringing them together in our projects, as well as what we've done in the commercial real estate space for our lender customers. And coming up next is really just continuing to build those visions out over the rest of this year.
Well, Jeff, we'll have to stay in touch and look forward to any updates that come out from you. Want to thank you so much for joining us here today and wishing you and the team the best of luck.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jared. Thank you for having me. Good to see you.